Heidi ho from us back in Ohio. We are finally home from a little over 2 weeks of exploring, from where we went out to ATO to pick up our Atlas Topper, and then we headed out for 12 straight days of camping and exploring with several national parks and destinations. Yes. It was great. What we really want to do in this video, before we dive right back into the Camp Bedrock 2.0 build, there's still plenty to do. We wanted to do a review of our Atlas Topper, sort of what our initial thoughts were, having done a trip of 12 straight days of camping. But we'll also review some of the things that we ran into with the pre-build for going out there to do the camp. So we're going to dive into that right now.
All right, first things first, we are going to discuss the pre-build issues. Really wasn't too many. We had one with our electric. If you were following us on Instagram, you would have seen that we had to do a field repair. We found that we weren't charging as we were driving. Turns out we had a bad circuit breaker, because our field repair has worked so far so good. So we have all the pieces to do all of that fix permanently now.
And one last thing that really wasn't a pre-build issue at all, but we didn't really recognize the significance of it. We hadn't provided a complete insulation for the bed of the truck, especially along like the wheel wells and things, because we knew we were going to be building out some cabinetry once we got back. Because we were out in such cold weather for so long, almost every night, any place where we had that bare sheet metal, we picked up quite a bit of condensation with it. We had to deal with in most mornings. Wasn't a big deal, quick little rag wipe up, but it did persist. So we are going to want to make sure that we add quite a bit more insulation over those points if we're going to continue to be snowbirds.
Okay, now we move to the topper. And we do have some issues. We do have some things we want to add, we want to fix. But the million-dollar question first is, would we do it all over again? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we would.
Yeah, we absolutely would. So just keep that in mind as we go through these next series of things.
Yes. All right, mattress. I don't know what in the world they're thinking. This is what comes with it. It's like 2.5 inches, low density. I have back problems, hip problems. I sleep on my side. This is just not gonna cut it. Let alone, it's brown. Everything else is gray, white, aluminum. Why? Luckily, we did get a heads up from First State Overland on the condition of this mattress. So we did have a foam blow up mattress that we use. It's like 4 inches. Very nice. Took it with us, all packed up, laid it out when we got the topper. So keep this in mind. All right, the next issue, and unfortunately it is a biggie. So if you watched our Zion video, you will know that we did experience some weather, particularly rain, a whole night and day's worth of rain. And I did wake up to wetness on the inside of our tent. Now, I did verify, this is supposed to be waterproof material. So when I checked it, it had soaked through that material and into the quilting that we bought as part of the install. It's not supposed to do that. I did talk to Mario. He was upset that it even happened, and we do have a plan in place. We're supposed to test it, put water on it, take some pictures, send him the information. More than willing to send us a replacement outside tent piece. However, it's still cold here in Ohio. So we gotta do that as soon as we can, as soon as the weather breaks. But while we're also talking about this tent material, you can see this piece hanging down here. We're not quite sure what purpose this is supposed to serve, other than to annoy the crap out of us when we're taking it up and down, because it sticks out. It doesn't fit all the way around. Even the corners don't fit very well. So we're gonna try to figure out how to trim this up so that we don't have to keep folding it up like we have on the rest of the pieces.
All right, for the heat. Honestly, this unit and its entire installation, we cannot give enough praise. On this trip, we had some evenings down into the teens with close to 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts. It was cold on more than one night and back to back. We would roll into the campsite, set the propane tank up, fire this baby up, and honestly, within an hour, it's 68 degrees in here and warm. Now, sure, the sides and things may still be a little bit cold, but the airspace was great. Really, again, can't give it enough praise. We end up having an 11-pound bottle, which holds about 2.5 gallons of propane. And we found out that even us running this a lengthy amount of time, like we started it pretty early and some mornings ran pretty late, especially on those really cold mornings, we used about between 0.8 and 1.1 gallons of propane was our usage for really pretty cold scenarios. So that gave us 4 running nights before we really had to worry or have any concern at all about filling up that propane tank. If you were looking for more than that, you might want to go to a 20-pound bottle instead of the smaller 11 that we have. But again, super happy with that. The only thing very specific to our build that we will probably tweak here is this unit, the intake is here, the outtake is here, and it blows this kind of back in here. And we noticed that when it was really cold and we would fire it up, sometimes it would get a little bit confused. It kind of goes into a turbo mode and really kicks up and ramps up, but it puts out so much heat then that it quickly thinks, oh, I need to shut down. And then as soon as it shuts down, it thinks, oh wait, I need to pick up again. So it kind of hunts a little bit, but we also don't get much airflow up in the bed at night. So it's really warm down here and not necessarily up there. We just added a little trucker fan up top and moved some air up over us. Problem solved. And that would be a solution for, I think, most people. I think what we are going to do when we build out some of our interior is add a little bit of ducting that's available here from Truma to kind of give us a duct right straight up there and maybe direct the heat a little bit away from the intake and the temperature sensor that ATO installs right here in this little control box. Now, whenever you're adding a lot of heat to something with a relatively low insulation barrier between you and outside, condensation's a big deal, right? We already mentioned that we've got some stuff that we need to deal with on the lower end truck bed portion of the build. For the topper itself, ATO has done a really good job with their materials, both with the honeycomb aluminum composite material to stack up, but also adding the fabric and other things into it to really help combat that. That's made even better by the fact that we actually got the quilting thermal lining around the tent. But there is one area, there's an aluminum strip that runs down the length of the tent on the left and the right side, all the way down the top, that just builds up moisture throughout the end of the night. I don't think it's going to be a big deal to fix. I think we're going to be able to add a little strip of foam there, or maybe even just go ahead and tack up some carpet to resolve it. For us, honestly, it drew so very little, we just kind of wiped it down with one rag real quick, set it down, and we had no real other issues with it. But if we could do some things where we don't have to do that, it'd be a huge plus. So I think we're going to try.
Okay, so here in the interior, as you can see, it's kind of dark in here. This is the lighting that comes from AT Overland in this. They are just amber lights here, and there's no lights up top either. So there may be an option, we believe, lean out here so you can see me. We believe there's an option for the vent that goes into the roof. We didn't opt for it, but we think there is an option that has additional lighting up there. So we're gonna have to add some up there and down here so that we can see what we're looking at on our table.
Something I'm very sad to report that I need to fix is the third brake light and third brake light wiring. If you remember, before we headed out, we were going to be doing some pre-wiring to bring a hot lead up from our trailer wiring. And when we spoke to ATO about how they would like that routed, they said, don't worry about it, we've got a module that's going to address some issues. In fact, it doesn't. It appears, and I do need to do some more investigation here, that the logic module they added is simply that. It's a logic module, and it evaluates whether both brake lights are on. If both brake lights are on, then I light the third brake light up. If one is on and one isn't, it assumes it's a turn signal, and it doesn't turn the third brake light on. The issue is most of Chrysler products, really since 2012 on, I don't know when it actually started, but certainly now in a 5th gen Ram, most of the electrical system isn't a straight 12 volts. It rides with a CAN bus signal on top of it. And that flips out all kinds of things like a logic module. One of the things that we have discovered is if I use my turn signal before I touch my brakes, which is like the legal way to do things, most cases, I will not get my third brake light to light. Same as if the hazards are on, and I go to the third brake light will never come on even when I'm touching the brake with hazards on. So it's a little bit of a cat mouse or chicken egg situation. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I'm going to need to pull that back out and wire it like I initially intended. Now their concern, in all fairness, was that if you tap into the trailer brake wiring, they thought that it would trigger the trailer attached, and I'd start recording miles as though I have a trailer hooked up all the time by tapping for that third brake light. I genuinely do not believe that that will be the scenario. Chrysler manual actually for the Rams, actually I say Chrysler, I'm old school, it actually suggests using that, and they sell interceptor connectors between the plug down underneath the bumper for you to do that very thing. So we're going to see how that goes in a future video when I get that all corrected, and I'll update you then. Something else while I'm standing back here that we knew we would need some addressing is just water management back here around this back hatch. It does unfortunately go well beyond just addressing the seal back here in this back corner, which I really expected to need to do. The tailgate itself here actually seals pretty well all the way around the top and the back. If you notice something though, if it's raining pretty good, you get some rain and stuff that lands on this, and then you go to come in or out of the back and you open the back, the lid opens all the way up with downhill and all that water comes shooting right in at you. Now again, I would say for most people's uses of these tops, who the heck cares? It's going to splash in a truck bed and no one's really going to worry too much about it. But as you all know, we're trying to build this out into some van space, so we really want to manage water better than that and get it away from that channel. We really have no idea what our solution is going to be there, but we definitely want to come up with something.
Awning brackets. So we had them installed from ATO Overland because we knew we were going to be putting a 270 awning on it, and we wanted to make sure that everything fit up appropriately because the awning brackets are supposed to work with the angle of the topper, but we found our awning leans back. So it looks like it leans the brackets are too far back and not really working with the edge of the topper. So we're going to have to put some shims in there so that we can force it to be level or down so that the water runs away from the truck.
There you go. Initial impressions after 12 pretty hard days of use without actually finishing our build.
Yes.
Gives you some insight to some of the things we're going to be doing in the future. Now, I know that seemed like a pretty hardy list, especially for the topper itself,
Yep.
but I got to tell you something. It was cold. It was windy. It was really a pretty horrible environment to be out camping in, and every night we were comfortable.
Yes.
I will reiterate again, we would make this decision again, and
Yeah.
much of the things we addressed are very specific again to our build.
Right.
Everything where we have problems, I don't see that it being that big a deal. Even the third brake light, kind of a bummer, not a big deal. The only thing that I think is a real problem is we just simply can't have water coming in on the fabric, and Mario and ATO are 1000% behind solving that problem.
Yes.
Everything else is just sort of nuisance FYI stuff if you're in the market for one of these. If you are, feel free to reach out to us. We'll give you extra details. If you're not, consider it, because
Yeah.
honestly, the thing's pretty doggone stellar, and we look forward to continuing our build in the videos to come. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Bye.